This episode of the Fans Talk Pro Wrestling Podcast has been brought to you by our friends in the Squared Circle of Trust. Become a member today to access exclusive content as well as early access to content just like this. You can head on over to fanstalkprowrestling.com, click the big green button, and support us by pledging a few dollars a month now. From the Fans Talk Podcast family at fanstalkpodcast.com, this is episode 294 of Fans Talk Pro Wrestling. On this episode, we preview this Sunday's WWE tables, ladders, and chairs. My name is Garvin, and with us tonight is Squared Circle of Trust member and host of Fans Talk Fantasy Booking, Sean. Say hello, Sean.
G'day, mate.
And Nick. Say hello, Nick.
Ain't nobody giving me props. I'm doing this for the love of the game.
Yeah, he also hosts a show called Fans Talk TNA, but we still haven't figured out what TNA is. Joe is with us as well. Say hello, Joe.
Nick's talking about the love of Triple H, right? Is that what you're all about?
All about the H.
All about the game.
All about the Motorhead.
And banging the
On your
boss's
knees,
daughter.
bro.
Anyway. Hi, guys.
Hello.
And,
right.
yeah, well, sitting here, yeah.
Yeah, so
Cool.
this show is going to be primarily surrounding WWE TLC. Of course, it is this Sunday, December 13th from Boston, Massachusetts. We've got about 6 matches right now that have been officially booked. We're expecting at least one other match to be booked. I don't think an official kickoff has been announced yet. We've got a few ideas running in our head. But first, before we get to that, let's go ahead and talk about Raw. Because I'll have you know, I got this frantic, super excited text message from Kevin that said, this is like the best beginning of Raw ever, you know? So I said, whatever. Yeah,
I
so he said,
totally
whatever,
disagree.
I was like, whatever, like, I'll take your word for it. I haven't really watched Raw in like 3 months, but because he was so energetic and because that was the first text message that I've received from Kevin in like 4 months, I decided to watch the opening of this week's Raw. The opening of this week's Raw, I thought was pretty great as well. And it built one of the best Survivor Series matches and feuds I think we've ever seen. Just a month and a half too late. So overall, why do you think that we started Raw basically building a 16-man match with 4, different 4-man stables at this stage in the game?
You see, what happened is that the WWE booked this show in reverse because they put the giant multi-man tag match first, and then at the end they closed with the 15-minute promo.
There was nothing good about this show. Okay, no, that's a lie. It was just the opening was terrible. And why would you call up Rhino when he looks like he's about to die every 2 seconds? Call up RVD for a short run.
No, RVD, I don't think he wrestles much anymore. At least Tommy Dreamer tries to stay in shape for House of Hardcore. But
Dude,
the reason you bring up Rhino is because he's one of the last ECW guys who's still alive.
Well, and he's in
rest in
NXT.
peace,
Yeah, he's in NXT.
Well, he was.
Look, he's the obvious easy one to go to. I think people accepted they're not going to get Spike. And so you go, okay, we're going to get Rhino, which I don't like Rhino in the ring. I don't think he is anywhere near on the level of Dreamer or the Dudley Boys. And he just looks like a brick being thrown around. He makes Braun Strowman look good. I just don't rate him at all. And it's just so frustrating because, okay, you built all these 4-man stables, which is awesome. I agree with Garvin. That's great to have build of all these different things. But yet suddenly there's all these side storylines which don't have anywhere near as much meaning. And so, okay, fine. We'll let Rusev be with his wife and let them develop that storyline with Ryback. And it just keeps on progressing of just, we're going to have these side storylines of Swagger, which has nothing to do with the League of Nations, but it still counts. And it's stupid. They're trying to stretch as much as they can out of everything, and it gives everything no meaning at the same time. I'm frustrated.
I'm not. I think this is great. This is I think the closest for one Raw only. That's all we can base it on. Closest to the spirit of the Attitude Era that we've seen in quite some time. I like this because you had Del Rio in the League of Nations, and he's they're going up against all these other guys, and then Del Rio's also got to deal with Swagger. Like, there are guys are in multiple feuds, or they're trying to tease that. I'm excited for that. I want to see more action like that, because then it adds that unexpected feeling like anything can happen on Raw. Remember that back in 1997, early 2000s? I mean, that we had an excitement there. Jericho. Oh my God, he came out like that was huge. I mean, granted, we're not getting a debut like that right now, but at least they're mixing it up enough, and they're taking a risk. Like when the text I got from Kevin, oh my God, Bray heel turn or Bray face turn. Oh my God, it's like
yeah. Look, I like what they tease, but the thing is, what you just touched on is exactly my point, right? They're going back to old formulas. They're going back to old things that work temporarily. It's a Band-Aid solution. Where you look at NXT, where it is so different, and it's more of that alternative like ECW was, which isn't, it's its own unique identifier. But then you've got Raw, which is going back to old shit, getting old guys in because that's the temporary solution. But what are they going to do in the long run? How many new guys are in the ring for that, apart from trying to get Roman Reigns over as per usual and Dean Ambrose, who's already over? So,
but if you eliminate the ECW guys, who are the old guys?
The guys who have been there for quite a while. Garvin wants to speak.
Garvin, go ahead. But
Del Rio, I guess, would be considered up there as an old guy. Sheamus would be technically an old guy as far as not necessarily age, but people that have been on screen. But I think. Yeah, and I think for me, like I'm with you, Joe. I'm also with you, Sean, in that it did have a different energy to it. You didn't necessarily know where it was going, and that partially was very exciting, just because there was a lot of guys that we are wanting to have on TV and do something cool and new, and this was a good sign that they could be going in that direction. But just like you said, Sean, it's like that they're going back to old formulas or bringing back these guest stars. It's just that there's no consistency to it. It's like a one-off, and then nothing ever happens after that. So, the hope here is that they take that, they take what they kind of started, and you've got basically 4 groups that are battling each other while also involved in something else as individuals, and that's a good thing. But if they don't continue in this way, this was pointless and disappointing for sure.
I think the thing that's made me so agitated is because they tease doing awesome things, right? And I do say that some of the things they're doing is good, but then they shoot it down really quickly, or they ruin it really quickly as well. So, you know what I mean, Joe? Like, the tease really cool things happening, and then you never get a fruition out of it. Like, right. A great example of a mini feud, which I think was due to injury, but it was still frustrating, was like Stardust Goldust. That was developing into something really good, and then it ended really weird, and now they're starting to hype that back up again ever so slowly.
Right, but that's as you said, due to injury. So you can't necessarily count that. Now, I get where you're coming, where they start something and we're like, hey, that's awesome, and it goes nowhere. As one of the members of the IWC, as one of the guys who's just a fan, I have to hope against hope that they might actually continue this train of thought and actually complete some of these things and make it interesting. Because I'm getting to the point where I'm pretty much ready to stop watching Raw until they did something like this. Then I was like, well, maybe they're going to do something cool. And I know that's stupid to think that they're going to keep this going,
Or
I
that they're
know
going to
that.
do something cool. Yeah.
I do question the plant though. Like you had Mick Foley release a massive rant on Facebook about why he's stopping to watch Raw, and then a week later he's like, "Okay, I'm watching War again." I don't know if that was a work or not, but I got his points. His points made a lot of sense.
Didn't his son Dewey get hired by the WWE
Yeah,
or something?
Yep, something like
That was
that.
that's an easy way to get a dad to watch TV again.
Yeah.
Especially with a Twitter following like that. Yeah, well,
And
we
it
just hired your kid, so you might want to check in on him.
And it would also kind of explain why we had this like sort of random start that involved like so many different people at the beginning of Raw.
He's coming to go back when my dad was a wrestler. Back when my dad was a wrestler, there was people everywhere. There was feuds everywhere. Let's do that.
Let me book the TLC match because The Rock beat the shit out of my dad with a chair, and I want to do that again. Remember me crying in the front row? Yeah.
See, I don't necessarily think this is anything new, though. Like I said, they just booked the same show, just in reverse. Because we're still rehashing a lot of old Survivor Series content. We're still getting Paige versus Charlotte. We're still getting Reigns in the main event.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting a little bit of a mix-up with Ambrose challenging Owens. But even so, we were getting a lot of that beforehand. And ADR, I could care less about ADR. The second he stops mailing it in, maybe that'll change. But while he's in the WWE, I don't see that happening. So, yeah, I don't really see anything different. It's just, again, in reverse.
Yeah, no, you're right, because the way Raw would normally end, or the way that, SmackDown specifically under Teddy Long, is that you would have like these massive
match. Holla, holla.
massive tag team matches. So yeah, I mean, I can totally see that. I think that there's just that, this is what we do. This is what we do as wrestling fans. Is like we're like, okay, they're getting it. They're going to give us what we want. They're going to put all these guys in that we want to see, do well, and they're going to develop something. And next week we're going to be angry again.
Though I do have a slight hope, and this is me not being cynical, so brace yourselves. They did a product research. They sent out surveys to fans who are really big on the WWE website, and I think it was on Facebook as well. They've done a lot of polls and surveys to try and figure out how people are feeling. And I think the general consensus is this whole authority versus Roman Reigns. No one wants to see a Daniel Bryan feud 2.0, and they want to move away from the authority angle, which I think is a good thing. But it's a hope that they'll actually look at that data, and and it takes a lot of time. Like I was listening to the Taz show for you guys, it would have been this morning, and he was just like, it takes them ages to actually get through the data, and they've already planned so much. Probably they've already planned most of Mania from now, really.
Yeah.
So it's a long, arduous wait, and maybe having a hiatus until after Rumble for Raw might be a good idea for me, because I might actually get some faith back in the product.
Yeah, and
with them going through the data for so long, it's a good thing that we've been saying the authority is bullshit for months now.
Yeah, I mean, like overall, as far as that goes, like, yeah, it's just hard to imagine that they would take a survey like that and not be motivated to do something different. And but yeah, like it's being said, there is probably months in between. They've already decided what they're going to do for Mania, but you've got like all of this like negative stuff from former wrestlers, especially former high profile guys like Foley, like Stone Cold, and then you have like basically the entire internet in unison saying that this stuff is bad. At some point, they're like, wouldn't they have to make a change? Ratings are slipping. That can't be good for investors. That can't be good for shareholders. And it's like, I think the internet is not as random as far as what they want anymore. A lot of it is in unification, that they want that, that energy that the first speech that Vince McMahon gave about, not being this kid show and not being, so boring and dull, and actually doing something progressive. If you look at Reddit today, and it's been there for an entire week, the Vince McMahon speech at the beginning of the Attitude Era, when it was basically announced that this is the direction that WWE is going, like, what he is talking about in that speech is exactly what we're seeing right now. It's exactly what we were seeing pre-Attitude Era. So,
all right. So I'm going to throw out, okay, first things first. The ratings are dropping. Ishmael's saying the ratings are dropping because of the NFL. They have to deal with this every year. It's nothing new. It's been around all the time. They've always been battling that. So don't think that they're down on average. Full stop. Secondly, there's been a theory put out that they're going to accept that Raw is failing and embrace that NXT is rising. So NXT is going on the road next year. And they've been talking down the NXT superstars very subtly on Raw, saying, it's the little leagues, it's all this sort of stuff. So they could be primed for a new invasion angle, perhaps. And that might be their saving grace for Raw.
See, I think that would be terrible because they already did that with the Nexus.
Yeah, but NXT wasn't anywhere near as good as it is now.
No.
You always have to consider the fact that during the fall sports season, the NFL, the NHL, the NBA, the WWE is going to take a hit in viewership.
Sure.
I don't believe that is the answer, though. That's not all that's at play here. Every year, you see that sort of decrease, but it's never been this sharp. We've seen historic lows with WWE. I can't remember if anything they've ever shown has matched the low ratings that we've seen this last month or so. So it's not just people watching something else like they usually do. It's people actively choosing not to watch the product. And yeah, I mean, I think it's fully deserved. Raw has, by and large, been kind of garbage. Me personally, I'm not at the point where I'm staging a boycott or anything like that, although I am pondering the decision to start watching SmackDown instead of Raw. But, it's I think it's finally getting to the point where management has to actually take notice. Like they had to figure out at some point that the IWC is no longer just a blanket term you can throw at the internet smart marks. It's the IWC is your fan base. Everybody's on the internet now. So
they even have it on computers.
Yeah, exactly. So the sooner they start figuring that out and the sooner they start realizing what you see on the internet isn't just a niche response, it is the mainstream response to some degree or another, the better.
We're still waiting for that.
I just want to interject and actually move on, but I am not exaggerating. I have not watched Raw for a long time, at least 3 or 4 months. This was my first Raw that I watched in full in as long as I can remember. So, it's just one of those things. Like, this is something we always go back to, where you've got a large group of people that want to send a message, but instead of turning off Raw, they will just complain on the internet.
I'm going to go complain about you on the internet, Garvin.
That's fine. That's fine.
Oh, that's what our live chat's for.
Yeah.
It's just flooded with people.
Let's move on. I want to talk about the main event, as in the final 15 minutes of Raw. And yes, this is our TLC pre-show. We're going to get into the card in just a few minutes. But the internet. And I want to say there was at least 3 or 4 different threads on Reddit, on the front page of Reddit, about how awful the Roman Reigns promo was. Basically, Roman Reigns delivered the worst promo in WWE history. That's what I got out of it. before I give my thoughts on what I thought about the promo, I'd like to hear if you guys agree with that sentiment.
Not in the slightest.
It's certainly the most stereotypical one we've gotten in a long, long time.
But it wasn't bad. For Roman Reigns, it wasn't bad. He had at least until Sheamus came out, because, well, tater tots. But he didn't. He started off telling the story about how he got to that point and how he was ready. And he did it relatively well. I mean, especially for a character who just was never good on the mic. Or has not been good on the mic. He's still developing that end. I didn't think it was bad. I admit I had to deal with my son for a while during the promo, so it wasn't exactly always in the room after Sheamus came out. But leading up to that point, I was fine with it.
So for Roman Reigns, it was standard Roman Reigns, and it was very predictable on his part. But in the terms of 90% of the rest of the roster, it was woeful. It wasn't the worst ever. Definitely wasn't the worst ever, but it was bad. It was just, as always, he just cannot connect. I think he should just stop talking and he can perform really, like he's performing better. He's wrestling better. There's no doubt about that, but his talking ability sucks. Just, that's the way it is.
As long as he continues to play against his strengths, as long as he continues to read off the script that he's given by some apparent moron that doesn't know how to write for the strong silent type, then it's never going to be a good promo by the standard wrestling bar. It was good for him. It's better than average as far as his promos go. It probably would have been better if it hadn't been the same one that he's been reciting for the past several months. But I don't know. With repetition, you improve. So I can't criticize him too harshly for that. When Sheamus came out, that's when things went downhill because it was just the same point, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It was like a game of Pong. And they just kept hitting the same point over and over again. Why don't you step in the ring so I can show you how it's done? Do you think I'm stupid? I'm not going in there until you throw that thing out. I'm not going in there until you throw that thing out. And this went on and on for 10 more minutes with the addition of, man, I thought you had potatoes. Looks like you got tater tots. That was dumb as hell. Yep. And, it's two badasses that go on and on about how much they love to fight. And yet they just keep talking and talking and talking. And the points never change. It's just the same points over and over and over again. That sucks.
Yeah. Side note, let's Reigns bash alone for a second. We know Kevin Owens is awesome. There's no doubt about that. But he's being booked in a way that he didn't retaliate with getting soda thrown in his face, and he's meant to be the biggest bully in WWE. Not cool. Crap booking. Not impressed.
Okay, side note over. Let's go back to Reigns. I think I'm like on the other extreme of this. Like maybe it's because like I really haven't been watching Raw for so long. Like I was okay with all of it. A lot of people were taking the screenshot of Roman standing on the ladder when Sheamus came out and he kind of cringed a little. And that was like, this is the defining moment of the entire segment. But to me, I thought what he said was fine. Oh, okay. Let me also throw in a little bit more context, and maybe this is what skewed my view. I was watching at 1.5 speed instead of regular speed. So maybe that had something to do with it. But
yeah.
I thought, generally speaking, I thought it was okay. I was okay with the line of potatoes and tater tots. I thought that was kind of funny. A lot of people are really attacking that point of it. Just the fact that he kept repeating the tater tots thing, and On one hand, I agree, because that is why I generally dislike The Rock. But a lot of that has to, like, if you look at this promo versus one of the promos that Rock delivered to Cena, it was a lot of that same stuff as far as the really immature humor that doesn't necessarily translate well to our audience or to a majority of the audience. It's just for those kids. So, you know, on one hand, I get it. On the other hand, it was mildly racist, and to me, that was funny. And also look at how Sheamus was reacting. It wasn't just, you know, dry, oh, you've got tater tots, and him saying, oh, no, I don't. It was like you could see Sheamus continuing to get more and more angry, and I thought they told a good story.
See, if all of this had been done in maybe the 2 minutes in which you experienced all this at 5 speed, then I think that would have been a lot more palatable. It's just they drag that out so long, just repeating everything again and again. And I think that's my issue with this, is that it just, if you need an overrun, you should put in content that is actually deserving of it. If you can just chop out 9/10 of it and still get the point across, so you don't need that overrun, that would be ideal for me.
It was like nails on a chalkboard going down really, really slowly. Like, it just, I think that is what we can take out of this, is that it wouldn't have been that bad if it was a 5-minute segment. It wouldn't have been that bad. We wouldn't have been sitting here talking about it. We would have been like, okay, so this happened. It was a setup. It's a go-home Raw. No, they just kept going and going.
The fact that it closed Raw is probably part of the problem, too.
Yeah, by the time they actually got around to the brawl, I was just ready to turn it off. I didn't care at that point. And that's kind of, for me, that resembles the build to TLC, granted all 2 weeks of it, at large. It's just, yeah, there are good points to be seen for TLC. Like, most of the title matches look interesting, but the main event, I don't care. Just get it over with.
Quest MPW in the Blab chat says he thought the promo was horrible, wishes he was 14 years old again, and the WWE is pretty much shoving Roman down the fans' mouths. I get it, but like I said, I still didn't think it was that terrible as everybody's making it out to be.
And I'm going to have to rewatch that. Ishmael made an interesting point. I didn't actually notice it because I wasn't paying that much attention. I was pretty bored by 7 minutes in. That apparently you could see a lot of fans leaving during that last segment, which that's not a good thing. The last segment you have for Raw, and people are just bailing. I get there's a few that just go because want to beat traffic or whatever, but if it's a big proportion, I'll have to check that. That's really interesting.
I have not seen before and after shots, but I did see a photograph that was going around that showed the hard cam side during that, and the seats were pretty empty at that point. So I don't know. Again, I think we all have differing opinions. I think part of it is, me not watching Raw in a while and not getting this, this stuff every week. Maybe I'm seeing it a little bit different, but I thought the brawl was good. I thought the showing of emotion by Sheamus was good. You would hope that your baby face can deliver epic promos to really build up a feud, but at the same time, it is what it is. And I'm okay with it, and I'm actually looking forward to this match based on what happened during that brawl.
Quest MPW chimed in and said he thought it was it's weird that we're saying the fans left because there were a lot of fans when they were fighting out of the ring, and he just finished watching Raw.
Yeah, I mean the photo that I saw was the hard cam side, so the side that isn't really shown. But yeah, at the same time, like when I'm thinking they were going around the ring, they went pretty much all the way around the ring, and it didn't seem that way. So yeah, not sure.
Yeah,
But
I
again,
definitely get the
I'm not
idea
paying
that
attention.
I
Sorry,
definitely get the
sorry,
idea that when you haven't watched it for a while, it's hard to kind of gauge if it's been going on for a while, or if you've never had, or if it's been years since you've had a chocolate chip cookie, and if it's stale and you have that for the first time, you don't know it's stale, so you think it's still kind of good. So I get that.
So you're saying it's like a stale chocolate chip cookie? Is that what we're going with?
I'm saying raw is stale.
Nick went PG and decided to talk about cookies.
Yes.
Just like unity. Yeah.
I'm saying Seamus is cookie puss.
Do you think they're going to start selling those horns at live events?
Oh, they are.
Oh,
yeah, they're sold out on the online shop, but they are selling them at events.
This took 6 weeks to arrive because it was sold out for so long.
Nice.
And for those who are not watching us on the Blab and YouTube feed, Sean has a New Day T-shirt. It is very nice. It is very nice. I do appreciate it. But okay, let's move on. This is the WWE TLC 2015 pre-show. It happens this Sunday, December 13th. So here's the card right now. And if you will, Nick or someone, go check out Wikipedia or WWE.com to see if this has changed. We are recording this at Tuesday right around 8:30 p.m. Eastern. But we've got
as of the start of the show, this is up to date.
Yeah, this is up to date as far as the start of the show. So this will probably change. We are missing a kickoff match. We only have 6 matches, but this is the card that we have right now. It is ECW Originals versus the Wyatt family in a tag team elimination tables match. ECW Originals being the Dudley Boys, Tommy Dreamer, and Rhino. We also have the WWE US Championship on the line as ADR defends against Swagger in a chairs match. The WWE Tag Team Championships are on the line as New Day defends against Lucha Dragons and the Usos in a ladder match. The WWE Divas Championship is on the line as Charlotte defends against Paige, and yes, Ric Flair will be at ringside. The Intercontinental Championship is on the line as Kevin Owens defends against Dean Ambrose, and in the main event, we have Sheamus defending the WWE Championship against Roman Reigns in a TLC match. Okay, so that is the card. Let's start from the bottom and go up. We'll start with the ECW Originals versus the Wyatt family in a tag team elimination tables match. Sean, your thoughts on overall the build for this and your predictions for the match?
Thoughts overall, great. I was really actually shocked when Dreamer came back. I thought that was great. I think he can still go really well in that multi-man format. I don't think in a singles match he's what WWE look for. Like in House of Hardcore, that's more of his realm. So, but you know, it's still good to see him back for the nostalgia factor. I think that the Wyatt family are looking really strong right now. They've laid out the Dudley ECW Originals a few times. So, for the love of God, put the Wyatts over. Get them something. So it makes sense for the Wyatts to win this one, and it doesn't hurt the ECW Originals to lose. So Wyatt family wins.
Yeah, I think they're going to be assuming the Jericho role in this match, and the Wyatts are finally going to get a notable win. I thought they introduced Dreamer and even Rhino in a rather suitable fashion. But just the way they built up Rhino's Raw return, I guess. I actually didn't mind that, and I don't dislike Rhino, but it's hard to feel excitement for him at this stage in the game, just because, they brought him onto NXT and I didn't get it. Like, okay, he's kind of, this was actually kind of nice.
Your mic was off.
Yeah, you kind of dropped out a little bit near the end there.
I agree.
That's all that's important.
Yeah. Okay, Joe.
Yeah,
what do you?
I don't think the Rhino return was a great thing. I mean, especially after he's been losing to guys in NXT, and then to come up to the main roster. Did he fit decently in that spot? Yeah, he did, because they needed a guy to spear with Roman Reigns, and that's really all Rhino has. And even then, sometimes it gets questionable. In my opinion. That's my personal opinion. Hate to bag on the guy, but, is what it is. I'm going to go with the Wyatts. I think with this being an elimination match, we're going to see Dreamer take a brunt of the beatings. And then eventually will be... I could even see Dreamer being one of the last guys eliminated. Like, he just gets the crap beat out of him. He manages to make the hot tag. And then one of the other guys gets eliminated. But Dreamer's there to flop and bleed. That's it.
Well,
Flop
not
and bleed.
bleed, sir. He will not.
What are you going to do?
I'm surprised he doesn't bleed when he breathes.
Hey,
or convulses. He's got that convulsion thing that he does all the time. Kind of like how Devon does. Devon's got that too. But yeah, I'm going with the Wyatts. I think you're going to have two guys left over out of the Wyatts, and it's going to be Strowman and Bray.
Strowman is such a weird name because I keep thinking everyone is mispronouncing Roman. Do you guys feel that way too?
No.
I mean, like when people say cross as crossed?
Yeah.
Like, why are you saying Roman that way? Okay, so, yeah. I am still weirded out that Rhino, like, looks exactly the same as he did, like, 20 years ago. That's weird. Anyways.
He's a Highlander.
He looks
just
like
weird.
his whole body... No. When he had his really good run years and years ago, he looked really fluid and he could move, and now he just literally looks like a brick made out of clay that somehow moves around the ring. He's got no mobility at all. He looks like his spine could break at any moment, and he's just solid. Like, not even muscly solid, just a brick. Just think of a brick and put it on your thing.
He is the sign
in the ring.
Yeah, he is the Scion XB of wrestlers as far as his shape goes. And I agree. I just find it weird that he still looks that way. But anyways, I'm with you guys. Wyatt family has to win this. They have to win this. There's no way. There's no way the originals go over. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Wyatt family as well. Let's move on to the U.S. Championship match. ADR defends against Swagger. This week we got a little bit more development, and as far as what that relationship is between Zeb and ADR, apparently they're on bad terms, and ADR was turning into that heel, talking down to his manager. A lot of alluding that Zeb is going to go back to Swagger, which is probably a good idea. But overall, thoughts on the build and your predictions. Let's start with Nick.
First of all, I just want to point out how Zeb just asking him, "Did you forget all this? How could you do this? What have you become?" And Zeb's not even looking at him, and just all of a sudden he just scoots off. I thought that was just such a great moment. But Swagger versus ADR should be an excellent match. From a technical standpoint, I think the wrestling is going to be... It should at least be decent. I would think this is a good match if it weren't for the fact that I mentioned it earlier on, ADR has just been mailing it in since he came back, since he became Alberto Del Rio again. I don't think his heart is in it. And it's easy to understand why. This is the place that fired you for slapping an asshole. But, I want to see good things from this match. I think Swagger's going to do his damnedest. It just all falls on ADR to ensure that, effort is put into this match. As far as predictions go, I think we're actually going to see Swagger take the belt from ADR. I imagine Zeb is going to change sides. I don't know, maybe remember who he is and become pro-America again and rah drive out the foreigner.
Yeah, look, it's amazing. I think the match could be good. I think Jack Swagger is a solid worker, and it just depends on if Del Rio wants to give a shit, to be perfectly honest. You can tell when he cares in a match, and you can tell when he doesn't. I think Zeb, will turn. I think that's kind of obvious. I hope he runs over Del Rio in his scooter. I think that would be really funny. Or try to, at least. But, the build's okay. I think not enough time given. But the thing I noticed is how amazingly over everywhere they go, the We the People thing is. And they missed out on how awesome it was. Did Jack Swagger get injured? Is that why he disappeared for ages, or did they just take him off?
I think he did end up with an injury.
Yeah, okay.
But, after countless, for me, this match is tough, only because the countless times that Swagger has gone up against ADR and lost. It weakens him so much. Now, he comes back strong here. It's fantastic. Finally, we're going to get Jack Swagger, get that push. But the problem is ADR needs to retain that title. If you're going to have the League of Nations, and ADR is going to be a part of that, to have the U.S. title is just a spit in the face of the U.S. people. And it's fantastic booking that way. So, sorry, Swagger, you're going to lose. If you win, it's going to be by DQ. You're not winning that title.
Yeah, I think that's exactly how it's going to be. As well,
how do you accomplish a DQ?
Oh, that's right. It's a chairs match.
Yeah.
Easy. You hit him with a car, because that's not a chair.
That's true.
He's going to get run over by. He's going to get run over by the scooter. He talked about how he didn't like the scooter.
And then you say you did it for The Rock.
For me, I think you've actually made a good point. But the thing is, you say that, but where's Kevin Owens in the League of Nations? He should be there because it would make the whole thing complete. Maybe
why not take Kofi out of the New Day? Because he's from Ghana.
No. It's because the belt,
the
intercontinental belt. You give the whole power and you give the heels all of that power, having all the belts there. Not to mention, Kofi never makes an anti-American slur where Kevin Owens, being the bully, talks smack against the US all the time. It works for him to be in the league. Why not?
Because that's for down the road.
By the way, Blue is pointing out that Kevin Owens and Sheamus actually just had this conversation on Twitter the other day.
Okay.
I missed that.
Fair enough.
I am going to go with ADR. Sean, who did you say you were going to go with?
I've been turned. I think it'll be ADR, but it'll be a horrible, dodgy win. It won't be nice.
Okay. Next up, we have the Next up, we have the Tag Team Championships. New Day defends against the Lucha Dragons and the Usos in a ladder match. Is this the match that finally New Day lose? Joe?
No. New Day are gonna win this. Why? Because it's probably a match everybody would say Lucha Dragons are gonna win because they're the flippy, They're the high flying team, and it's that niche. No, New Day's got the numbers, just like Ishmael's saying in the Blab chat. The Usos are a good, solid team, but when you've got two face teams and one heel team, I don't see that face team working out. either one of the face teams working out, the heels are going to find a way to screw both of them over.
I don't get the numbers argument because this is essentially a handicap match. The only reason it's not is because both teams want those belts. I'm betting on the Usos winning, and not even because, well, definitely not because the New Day are a bad team or bad champions. Far from it. They are the best champions that ever were, that ever are, and ever will be. But I think they have had a good run with these belts, and the Usos have been gone for a while. It's about time that we got, I guess we got another Uso tag team run. And there's always that, I don't know what you call it, but the Dudleys have put it out there that they really want a program with the Usos. And what better way to do that than to fight over the championships?
I'm going to be different, and I'm going to go off the past history of the last few Raws with wins and losses and SmackDowns and all that sort of stuff. I'm going Lucha Dragons. I'm going to say they're going to do it because they need to mix something up. And I think you're right. The New Day really doesn't need the titles to be over. They've got more TV time than anyone else on Raw. So you know what? Give it to the Lucha Dragons, and maybe that'll force Sin Cara to get better, and Kalisto will still be awesome. And it'll be a short run, maybe a month, but still, it'll be good to see them get the belts.
I'm halfway tempted to agree with you. Actually, this is a really hard match for me to call because I would
halfway there. Whoa, living on a prayer. Take my hand. Anyway,
I don't mind the idea of Lucha Dragons going over. You know, the Usos, they're already up there. They're already credible. New Day is already up there. They're already credible. And outside of that, there aren't a lot of tag teams that can fit there based on how stories have been developed thus far. So adding an additional tag team to that mix would actually be a really good idea to help build the tag team division. I mean, obviously, you've got the Wyatt family in some capacity. You've got the Dudleys in some capacity. And they both could add that credibility to this, but as long as they're, doing their own thing, adding an additional tag team here, I think would be one of the smartest booking decisions ever. It's just that WWE doesn't do that. So I'm going to go with the Usos as well. I think New Day, they don't necessarily need the titles. They're going to be good regardless. So, but yeah, I'm going to go with the Usos.
Just curious, how many heel tag teams do we really have in the WWE right now?
Let's see. Wyatt family, New Day,
Ascension.
Well, please.
I don't know if you can count this.
You said heel tag team, they count.
In the WWE.
Well, in the WWE,
yeah.
just badly.
Just
badly.
I don't know. I mean, yes, technically, I guess you could put the Ascension there if they're even like whatever.
What are you talking about technically?
They're bottom on.
I'm just saying it's better to have the titles on a heel tag team when you have so many face tag teams. I mean, what are we going to get? Are we going to get Los Matadores to come back repackaged yet again?
Los Matadores are heel now, actually.
I know, but they're also going to be repackaged.
Wherever they rumor.
How many face tag teams do we have? Usos, Lucha Dragons,
Dudley Boys,
Dudley, New Day.
No, New Day is not face.
Oh, come on! Everybody loves the New Day.
Yeah, right? No, you're not wrong.
They're still heels though.
New Day crosses. They cross. They are the tag team division.
They are the tweeners of our generation, or this generation, rather.
Yep. They're the anti-heroes.
They saved the tag team division. Like there was absolutely nothing going for it if it wasn't for them.
They are the best tag team since the '80s. Wait, no, I'm not Harrison. Hold on.
Better than Team Hell No? I don't know, man.
Oh man.
Don Reed around for that conversation way back when.
Yeah.
Okay. Just had to check.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I think these guys have been great. But, yeah. Come on, Lucha Dragons. Let's go for the new blood. That's what we always do. Come on, guys. Lucha Dragons.
No, I mean I'm with you as far as the smart booking decision. It's Lucha Dragons, just because that adds another tag team that you can really consider to be up at that level. But this is WWE, and they don't book that way.
Yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to see a tag team champion team. Wow, that came out awkward. I've always wanted to see champions botch their entrance.
Yeah?
Yeah. Tag team champion teams are very important.
Yes.
Yeah.
One day we'll get a tag team, champion team, tag team. Anyways, so okay, let's move on from that.
Speaking of the primetime players,
yeah, there's primetime players, yeah. Although they will never be as good as Slater Gator.
Hard to argue.
And Slater Gator will never be as good as a 3-man band.
That's true.
And no one will be ever as good as the Great Khali.
No arguments here. All right.
Muhammad Hassan.
WWE Divas Championship is on the line as Charlotte defends against Paige. Who you got, Joe?
I'm going with Paige. I think Flair's going to get his ass kicked out of ringside to give enough of a distraction for Paige to get that win. I find the entire feud awkward because who's really the heel?
Yeah, can you have two heels?
Reference point. I don't know. Where's Lee? We need that reference point.
I think it's going to be a very interesting match because, yeah, Charlotte's teasing the heel, which I think she's better at. And we're going to see the complete final face turn of Sasha Banks. Perhaps she might even be on commentary for the match. And then you can kick off perhaps a triple threat at the Rumble to set up what I hope to be a fatal 4-way at Mania. But that's the hope.
This is why you host Fans Talk Fantasy Booking, man.
I'm repping, man. I got it. That was a sly plug. I like that. It was good.
Yeah. Aim high.
God knows we.
I'm gonna go with Charlotte here, just because I imagine Rick is going to play a role in some sort of distraction, just like they did with Becky. I don't think it'll be quite as straightforward, but I think it'll definitely contribute to Charlotte beating Paige and effectively knocking her back down to the bottom of the ladder. And I really hope that is the case, because whoever wins, I don't want to see Paige and Charlotte fight for a little while. I want to see Paige fight Becky, or have whatever tension has now been built up between Becky and Charlotte finally get a release. I want to see something different. I want to see Sasha Banks at least somewhere adjacent to the title picture. Maybe even Naomi. I don't know. She's improved as far as character goes now she's been partnered with Sasha Banks. I just want something different. The only way I see Paige winning is if the internet's fantasy booking kicks into play and her mom Soraya is in her corner.
Or Becky Lynch does a distraction to Charlotte. Like what happened to Becky Lynch.
Becky turning heel.
Not turning heel, just getting her back, getting that little bit of revenge. You know? Because it's all grey. Like, there's no definitive babyface or heel in this. That's the weird thing about it. So maybe you just have that, you did it to me, so I'll do it to you sort of thing.
I don't see Becky doing that and coming out in that sort of gray area. Charlotte is in a weird place because she doesn't have the character or legitimacy for it herself, but she kind of achieves that gray area just because she's a Flair. And she is so obviously trying to emulate her dad in that. But with Becky, with the way she's been portrayed, basically ever since she's been brought up as the peppy, puntastic face, I don't know. That would be really hard to pull off, I think.
Yeah, look, I think this whole Charlotte always having Flair there, she needs to learn to stand on her own 2 feet, and I think she'd be better without it. Like, as much as I respect Ric Flair, I think he can support her from behind the curtain rather than in front of it, because he gets too much of a spotlight now for what they're trying to do, which is trying to highlight and how awesome Charlotte can be. Let her be awesome. Let her do stuff she did in NXT without Ric Flair always there. Get her some character development without always having Daddy there to emulate. Like, she can still do the chops and do the little homages, which is very fair enough. They're family, but leave it at that.
Yeah, that's the key phrase there. Let her do what she did in NXT, which was have the writing team support her. The entire time she was on her own, from the point where Team PCB split up and to now where Rick is attached to her hip, she's barely gotten a chance to do anything. The one point of character development that we saw was when she did the old Flair trick of faking the injury and then distraction roll-up.
Well, and this week's promo was pretty good too.
Right, but Rick was there, and Rick was instrumental in it. So she absolutely can stand on her own 2 feet. It's just you need to write her that way. You can't have her be ignored. You especially can't have her be ignored as the Divas champion and focus entirely on pushing Paige, pushing Becky, pushing Sasha, pushing literally half the division and just leave the champion by the wayside. Of course, nobody's going to support her or cheer her as you should, because we're not being given a reason to, except that she's a Flair, she's a champ. Right now, in this day and age, that doesn't cut it.
Okay. The live chat seems to be pretty mixed on this as far as the live chat over on Blab and the live chat over on Mixler. It's basically 50-50. But one thing that's being brought up is just like the over and under of how many heel face turns we'll get this match compared to what we get from Big Show in a year. And I think what we get from Big Show in a year is about 10. So over under 10 heel face changes during this match.
I appreciate the joke, but no.
I mean, we look at the double turn as one of the most epic moments in wrestling history when Stone Cold and Bret Hart had that flip. Okay, but what if we get like 10 of those in this one match? That would make this like the epic match of all time, right?
Literally
Yes.
10, or just have that come into question?
10.
That all right, Ty. That just becomes a parody.
But that's what it is. That's what WWE is. I agree with Daniel Bryan's theory. All that WWE is a parody of what wrestling is.
Okay, Sean, who did you have this match?
I'm going Paige.
Paige, okay. I'm going to go with Charlotte. That's it. So let's move on from that. We've got the Intercontinental Championship. Kevin Owens defends against Dean Ambrose. Nick, thoughts on this match and predictions? Do you think that this will be the match of the night? Go ahead.
Before we begin, I want to make sure everybody's getting the picks down in the doc so that there are no more accusations of collusion.
I'm actually writing them down this time.
Okay.
But Sean doesn't have writing access, so because I forgot to give that to him. So
Yeah, I tried to write stuff in. Thanks for that. Yeah. This is because I gave him crap on my show last week. That's what it is. It's just quietly getting revenge.
I couldn't give
This is
you
a
full
burial live on air, folks.
There you go.
Okay.
Act your shit.
Okay, Owens versus Ambrose. It
Yes,
could very
that's the
well
match.
be match of the night. I'm not sure it will be, simply because of the ladder match. I think that could very well be a better match overall. But definitely a very strong contender for it. I'm highly entertained by the Ambrose Owens feud. The capacity those two have to just riff off each other, and the fact that they do have that brawler move set, that sort of I don't give a damn about what anybody thinks of me. I'm gonna do whatever the hell I want attitude in and out of the ring. I don't see this going on for very long. I think I'm going to guess that Ambrose wins. Owens has had a somewhat lengthy title run, and he's not really doing anything with it. He's fallen under the curse of the Intercontinental Champion. Things look promising for a while, hold it for a little while, and eventually you just lose relevance while other guys get the focus, get the spotlight. And personally, I think that sucks. Owens is so much more than that, but Ambrose is wildly popular. So I don't know. Maybe they'll give him the nod. Maybe even affect the whole relationship between him and Roman. Because if Roman doesn't beat Sheamus at TLC and Ambrose is IC champion, that could provide more fodder for a potential heel turn between one of them.
I'm going completely the opposite. I'm hoping, and this is me not being cynical for once, I think that they're going to build Owens as the ultimate strong guy like he was in NXT, how he destroyed Sami Zayn. And I think this is the big build for Sami Zayn to finally go to the main roster. I think this is all part of the master plan to build Owens up as the monster that he is so he can make the Intercontinental title. I don't think anyone else could make that title. It's not like you're going to give it to Cena. It's a good way to make it relevant, make him unstoppable, build him up, and then have Sami Zayn for an epic match as Sami Zayn gets revenge. Comes back.
See Kevin Owens holding the title for another 6 to 8 months, because I think that's how long it'll take for Zayn to come up to the main roster.
No, he's already performing this week. He's already performing over in London at live shows. He's going to be back
on the main roster.
No, I think he'll be moved up at the Royal Rumble. Royal Rumble will make his debut.
Wait. Zayn is scheduled for main roster live events.
No, for NXT live events. So he's already back wrestling.
Yeah. I know he's coming back. I've seen the commercials during NXT. I'm saying he's going to be in NXT for about 6 to 8 months before he makes it to the main roster. Because I think he's got a lot of unresolved stuff down in NXT.
Sure, but you can also do double duty.
I don't know if I agree with that statement, Nick. His unresolved stuff is with Kevin Owens, not NXT.
As NXT champion, he's got a lot of unresolved business because he never really got a run.
Yeah, because he's going to have a long one.
True.
And he doesn't need to go back after Kevin Owens.
Right. That's always going to be there in the back pocket because that will never go away. On the indie scenes, they kept revisiting it every now and again. But there is a lot of fertile ground for Zayn in NXT right now that doesn't need Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn is always going to be relevant. It's always going to be exciting, no matter how far off in the future you push that off.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Joe?
I'm going with Kevin Owens. Owens is... I don't see Ambrose getting the... Ambrose doesn't need this. Why? I mean, he's had a run. It was lackluster. Owens still needs it. I think Owens carrying this title is fantastic.
Ambrose had a run at the U.S. Championship.
Was it U.S.? Either way, he didn't do anything with it. He did things that he was doing exactly right now. Owens, as that bully character, I mean, he's shown he's very versatile in what he can do. I think he's going to retain this one. and that'll be one of. Well, no, he's going to retain it, but I don't. I think somebody else is going to have to take Owens down. I don't think it's going to be Ambrose. If anything, it's going to be a point of contention for Ambrose that he can't beat Owens, and he gets frustrated with Reigns. Reigns is like, man, just calm down. Oh, fuck you! I'm not calming down, and then you get a feud there. It's a possibility.
Do you think that with the IC title, do you think it's making Kevin Owens, or is Kevin Owens making the title?
Kevin Owens is making
Kevin Owens making the title.
Yeah.
So
I don't think it's either.
The longer that you have it, and then he has really good challenges for it, and have him win, and have him win, and have him win. One, it's going to have Kevin Owens look strong. If you make him look strong, give him one title match that's on a pay-per-view where he destroys him like he destroyed Sami Zayn with those power bombs. Let him lay it out and end it by knockout.
Right.
That'd be awesome. And that way you build that title as who can beat this guy. Boom, it's done. Then you have all the titles relevant again, and then you get Cena back on the US title. We have titles that mean stuff. Yay.
I'd love to see that, but Owens hasn't been a destroyer since Cena beat him. Like, facing off against Ryback for the IC title. Owens never really looked strong against Ryback. I think the ship has sailed on that for at least a while. We're not going to see Owens as that dominant force again. Maybe even until Sami Zayn does come up to the main roster. I'm not saying I'm not saying that he's going to fade into obscurity, but he's about as relevant I take that back. I was going to say he's about as relevant as Dolph Ziggler, but Dolph Ziggler has never been less relevant than he is right now. Kevin Owens is solid upper mid card, and I don't think that's going to change for a while.
But the thing is, though, Nick, is that, while I agree with you, if you look at win-loss records, if you look at the stories that are being built around the IC championship, totally, it's not really occurring. You don't really have that major, strong feud happening. Like, Ambrose is more of a secondary device to help build Roman. That's what he has been thus far. So I'm with you there as far as the being uncertain of if Owens is making the title or if the title is making Owens, because at this point, the title is almost insignificant, but we're still all really interested in Owens. And how long has it been since we were all still really interested in the IC champion? When Barrett held it, we all got really disappointed right away. Same thing with, I think the last person we were all kind of happy with was Cody when he brought the white belt back. But as far as the IC goes, it is still irrelevant or irrelevant. There we go. But Owens is still very interesting. So yeah, you're right. Owens isn't making the title, but Owens is still a force to be reckoned with, and I think that's something we can all agree with.
I definitely agree with that, but I still don't think anyone cares about the IC champion.
Yeah,
I think people care about
championship.
Kevin Owens.
Yeah, right.
Well,
okay,
Owens is just as interesting without that belt, and I think it'd actually be kind of interesting if the IC belt was incorporated into Ambrose being used as a device for Reigns.
Yeah, right, and we couldn't always say that about the champion. Like, we were interested in Dolph, but as soon as he held the title, it's like they both went down. Barrett the same way, they both went down. But Owens is still up here despite not really having that major feud or story pertaining to the IC title. But I'm gonna go with Owens here, and I really do love the idea of Sami Zayn being called up after Royal Rumble, say January, February, to really start their feud. I think that would be really cool. Okay, that leads us to the main event. And real quick, no other matches have been booked as far as I can see. We're still at these 6. It is now a little after 9:00 on Tuesday. So Sheamus defends the WWE Championship against Roman Reigns in a TLC match. Who you got, Joe?
This one is really tough given the the fact that do we see Roman get as hardcore as we've seen Sheamus get in the past? Does the League of Nations become the huge factor?
And real quick, while you're thinking about that, I do want to clarify our picks are not win-loss. It's who is walking out with the title.
Yeah.
So also keep that in mind.
Correct.
I mean,
Yeah.
this is gonna. I mean, there is a clean or a clear finish that has to happen. But overall, who walks out with the title?
Yeah. Well, we know nobody wins, not even the fans. So this one's just so freaking tough. Because part of me says Sheamus, but man, you keep having Roman Reigns lose. This is like that Ryback thing all over again. Ryback was feuding with CM Punk. Do you know what? I'm going to go with Reigns. That way, Ambrose can win the Rumble. I'm pulling this one out of my head. I'm stealing Sean's seat at the Fans Talk Fantasy Booking show, and just for a moment, and I'm just going to fantasy book that because it's probably going to be wrong. Because that's what happens when you fantasy book on Fans Talk. Anyway.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think you got Sheamus going to take the win. As much as I don't want him to, but it makes sense for Lesnar to come back and win the title at the Rumble, and then you can have Reigns do double duty in the Rumble, and then another match of some description, and then you got Lesnar versus Reigns Volume 2 at Mania. And it's not like it would be hard to turn Lesnar back as a heel or a heel-ish kind of character. So, and that'd be a draw. Everyone would want to see that again. Because it wasn't a bad match, as bad as everyone was thinking it was going to be. Then Vinny gets his boy that he's been pushing for so long in the main event of Mania, and you've got Lesnar who's the draw. Done. That's how I fantasy book. Boom.
Draw.
I figure Sheamus is going to walk out with the win here because I firmly believe that the WWE is committed to adapting the Daniel Bryan underdog story for Reigns. I'm grateful that they didn't draw it out as long as they did with Daniel Bryan, but it seems like they're just so committed to selling this idea that Reigns is some sort of everyman, that we should support him because he's getting screwed over by the man. And I don't know. I don't see that ending here at TLC. Sheamus is too new of a champion. They're piling it on way too thick with Reigns not getting the job done, that it feels like they really want to keep hammering away at that. Just have multiple guys try and prove the idea that Reigns isn't ready, that he can't win the big one. And then we're going to see that sort of hero's journey as Reigns proves them all wrong and becomes the champion for realsies this time. I don't see it happening at TLC. Sheamus wins.
Okay. I am also going to go with Sheamus winning. And for very much of the same reasons. It would kind of be disappointing if Roman Reigns continues to lose these matches, but this is generally the story that it seems like WWE is going with. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Sheamus winning. And that is our prediction. So let's just run down this real quick. We've got the Wyatts going over the ECW originals. ADR successfully defending against Swagger. The Usos becoming the new tag team champions. Owens successfully defending against Ambrose. And Sheamus successfully defending against Reigns. And also Charlotte versus Paige. We're completely 50-50 on this, so that match can go either way. But those are the predictions of Fans Talk Pro Wrestling.
Actually, from what I'm saying, it's a tie between Paige and Charlotte.
I'm writing them on paper. I'm not adding stuff to the doc because Sean's stuff is not in the doc. So 50-50.
So he can. Well, Sean's got access to write in it now. So I told him. So
No, I don't. It's not letting me.
It supposedly said it was.
Whatever. I got it on paper. I'll put it into the doc. We can all review and approve in the post show. But that is the predictions of Fans Talk Pro Wrestling. That is pretty much your preview for WWE TLC. We went super long on Raw, super long on TLC. So we do have to cut it short. But for those who are Patreon subscribers and Squared Circle of Trust members, we're going to be releasing some extra content. We're going to be talking a little bit about NXT, this week's NXT, as well as expectations for NXT TakeOver London. There's also some other WWE Network stuff that's happening, like Breaking Ground that we'll briefly talk about, as well as our wins and fails of the week. So definitely, if you are a member of the Squared Circle of Trust, you'll get that probably by Wednesday or Thursday. If you are not a member right now, you can do so by just going to fanstalkprowrestling.com, clicking the big green button, and pledge today. Just takes a few dollars. Think of it as a cup of coffee. You're just giving us a cup of coffee. And that's not a cup of coffee for each person on today's show. It's just one cup of coffee. And I'm assuming you're going to give it to me. But just in case, overall, that is going to help us continue to put shows like this together with the Fans Talk podcast family. So definitely do that. Okay, let's move on to final thoughts before we close out the free episode of today's content. First of all, we definitely want to thank everyone who is continuing to join us in the live chat. Again, Fans Talk Pro Wrestling is recorded live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can check that out at fanstalkpodcast.com/live. We've got the Blab embed there. We also have the Blab, if you are unaware, is the live video feed. It's actually pretty sweet. And then also the Mixler feed. There's live chats on both. Both are a lot of fun. Want to thank Dustin, Beanbags, Blue, Acer, Robert, Ishmael, Quest, Dave Voice, Prometheus, and Down is the new Up for joining us this week in the live chat. Always fun. Again, fanstalkpodcast.com/live. And anything else that we want to say before we go home? Joe?
We're doing win fails?
Nope. Squared Circle Trust.
All right. Just that longtime listeners heard us talk previously about a woman wrestler named Allison Kay. She got into MMA. She won her MMA debut match this past weekend. Second round with a rear naked choke. Congrats to her. And the picture on her Facebook page. Yeah, the left side of her face is fucked up. So awesome for her, and congrats on the win, and keep kicking ass.
Yeah, she literally won that fight with one eye closed. Between that and Kimberly becoming the 4th ever Chikara Grand Champion, man, women wrestlers have been awesome lately. I wonder when mainstream TV is going to pick up on that.
Man, TNA was this close to doing something sweet. Fucking TNA.
What is TNA?
Boobs and ass.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Sean, any final thoughts before you say goodbye?
Nah, I'm good. I don't want to be mean.
Okay. Again, this is the free portion of tonight's conversation. We're going to be sticking around to do some Squared Circle of Trust content, just for those who are helping us out over on Patreon. fanstalkpodcast.com. There's a big green button there. All of the podcasts that are released through the family are supported exclusively by our Patreon subscribers. And you can subscribe today for as little as $1 a month to receive early access to our content, as well as to get your ears on some exclusive content that we produced throughout the month. For Nick, Joe, Sean, my name is Garvin. We will see you next Tuesday. Later. Fans Talk Pro Wrestling is part of the Fans Talk podcast family. It can be found at fanstalkprowrestling.com. Fans Talk Podcast family is a subsidiary of Tigar Creative LLC.